I want to talk about Elementor version 4 editor. This is the beta release. This isn't a final release just yet. But if you don't know what it is, this is where they're moving over to the new way of working over what we've traditionally been using in Elementor. In other words, they're moving over to working with a class-first design system. This means we can use classes and variables. Without going into too much detail, classes and variables basically mean that we can create fluid websites, we can make sweeping changes and style updates and layout changes in a matter of seconds, all from one single source of truth, as opposed to having to make changes on every single page, template, and so on. It's a much more flexible, much quicker way of working, and one in which I'm glad to see Elementor embracing this, moving forward with more modern technologies. Now, working with this, we do have to use different kinds of elements. We now have the atomic elements. These are some foundational building blocks, as well as things like your headings, tabs, and so on. These all allow you to be able to use these classes. Anything from the sort of legacy setup, like these layouts for your containers, grids, basic, and so on, they currently do not support the classes. We have to use these atomic elements. So right now there are 10 elements to choose from. Again, this is something that will hopefully expand as this moves closer to a final release. So I'm really glad to see that Elementor has embraced this kind of way of designing. I've been using bricks for a couple of years. This has pretty much always been the way in which it works. Using a class-first design setup is far more efficient when building websites. You don't need to go in and change templates and files and mess about with things. You can make global changes to layouts, styles, colors, typography, all those things in a matter of seconds, all from one single source of truth. But this is still an option. You don't have to work this way right now. You can carry on using the original layout, basic, pro functions, and so on. To enable it, you do need to come into the settings, into version 4, and say you want to activate this. You get a little sort of notification and so on, work your way through it, and you can deactivate this, but obviously if you deactivate it, any of the elements that you use in the classes and so on won't be usable. So this is all good. This is something that I think is definitely the right way forward for Elementor, and I'm glad to see them embracing it. This leads me on to one thing that I really want to talk about, and the whole kind of point of this video is that Elementor is saying this is a production-ready environment. You activate it, it's still actively a beta, it's not even a release candidate. And if you don't understand, basically what you have is you'll have an alpha, which is a very early, publicly available kind of setup for people to test it and feedback with the issues and things that are not working. There's still features missing and so on. Once that kind of gets closer to a polished product, it moves over into beta, or beta if you're in America. This means that there are still features missing, still bugs and quirks, and they expect things to break and not work 100% fully. Then you have a release candidate, which is almost ready. Most of those bugs are being ironed out. Most of the features they want to launch with are in there. Then you maybe have an RC2 and so on. It all depends. But that's kind of what you have. Then it goes to a final release. Then it's available for the public. Is it going to be without bugs and issues? Generally, no, because they only have a small subset of users to test it, and there are always going to be issues that will arise from any kind of tool. However, it is in a position where it is generally pretty solid. A beta is not that. Now, if you haven't already seen it, please do check out Jeffrey from Lightbox's video on Elementor version 4 beta first look and review, asking if it's production ready. Much the same as me, however, I've got some different points I want to raise. I'm not kind of cover the same topics. Have a look at his video. He highlights multiple different bugs in there that are still missing. There's one key area that I want to focus on today, though. Now, the beauty of working with a class and variable setup is that you can have a CSS framework that contains all of those elements. So things like your spacing, your typography, your color palettes, all those kinds of things are your variables. And then you can create your classes, which are basically generally groups of variables and settings that allow you to style an element. For example, you may set the border radius, the color, the hover effect, the typography settings, and so on for a button. And then you can apply that to a class, and you can use that class on any button that you want. Multiple classes with multiple different types of styles and so on, so you can have various different buttons, all with their own unique classes. That's a very basic overview. But the problem is with Elementor right now, in what they consider to be production ready, you have to manually insert these one at a time. You can't import them. So if we take a look at something like Core Framework. Now, Core Framework, like I say, is a CSS framework. You could easily use something like this or an online tool to generate your fluid typography, your color palettes, your shades, your tints, your transparencies, your spacing, your layout elements, all those things, your variables and things. You could use online tools to do that. This speeds up the process. You may even then have a starting point that has all of these set up, which you can tweak should you want to, and then have that so you can hit the ground running with those basic layouts, colors, and everything in place. So for example, you can see if we come in and preview the CSS, all the CSS inside here for the various different variables. Now, ideally, you'd copy this and take it over into Elementor, paste it in there, and then all of this would be done for you. This is how it kind of works inside Bricks. Jumping into the Style Manager inside Bricks, you can see there are all my variables. I can organize my variables. I can come in and set up my colors, my typography, my spacing, my framework. I can import my different variables inside here. So I can easily come into something like here, inside Core Framework, copy these over, jump back into my Style Manager and paste those in, pass the CSS, and those variables will be created for me. So you can see how this is so quick and easy to use an online tool or to have our own exported setup, which you can easily import. You can see inside here, I can import and export directly from inside the Style Manager. Elementor currently doesn't allow us to do that. So I can't see how you could consider this production ready when something as fundamental as that is missing. To expect users to go in and create their variables and classes one at a time kind of seems a little bit crazy at this point. So this, in my opinion, is something they really need to address super quickly if they want this to be even close to being production ready, on top of the bugs that Jeffrey's already highlighted. Let me show you what I mean. If we add in something like an atomic elements, we'll add a flex box in. You'll see now we get the classes option. If we click up here, this is our class manager, and click, this is our class manager. And as you can see, we can search for classes, but that's it. There's no import, there's no export, there's no options inside here at all. Come back out of this. If you come into something like your spacing and hover over, you can see there's our variables, which is our variable manager. Click open this up, we get to create a variable. We can add a variable, so we can add a name and a value inside here. We can manage our variables. You can see I've created a couple, but again, no import or export. Everything has to be manually created. Seems a little bit short-sighted on what they would consider to be a production-ready setup. And unless I'm missing something, which I could be, I can't find any way to import variables and classes. I have to manually create them one at a time, which, like I say, really is a slow process. Imagine a simple thing like this. There's our typography. Inside here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different definitions. If we create context variables, classes, and so on, we could end up with 50 or 60 inside here just for typography. Then come into your spacing, and you may have another 30, 40 inside here. Come into your colors. Again, you may have God knows how many inside here. For example, if we open this up as our primary, well, you can see we've got 4 shades, 4 tints. We can enable dark mode, which is give us variations of each one of those. You may want to have other options inside here as well. Utility classes. You can see how this could easily balloon into hundreds of definitions, even just for a simple starting point. So that's just my quick take on where they are with the version 4 editor. I will take a look at this in a little bit more detail over the coming weeks because I'm interested to see how they've implemented it and how they will move forward with it. But for me, this is one of those areas that I think really needs to be addressed super quickly to make this even remotely usable in a production environment, which again, as a beta product or beta product, I don't really think they should be touting this as production ready. Production ready means a final release, not a beta release. As always, though, I welcome your feedback. Have I missed something here? Is there a way of actually importing your classes and your variables? If so, please do let me know down below. If you come across any bugs or quirks and you are using the version 4 editor, again, drop those comments in the comment section down below. As always, my name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.